Hello televiewers, good evening and welcome to this edition of Prime on My Media Prime. We are sorry for the late start. We have been struggling without success getting over to Ndifor Richard out there through Skype. Unfortunately, we have not been able, so we are forced to start the program without him. We are going to be looking at the decision by Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration to legalize 11 new political parties to join the ranks of already existing more than 300 parties. We look at how that addition is going to work to strengthen Cameroon's democracy. We also are going to be looking at the outing by CPDM Senator Mbella Moki Charles, who whips actually raising some issues crying for Anglophones in Cameroon. We question why this should be coming from him and why now. We are discussing this with panelists who are seated in the house already. We have with us as consultant Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians and viewers of Prime Hour across the nations of the world. Thank you for this privilege again to educate our people. We are here tonight to discuss this very complicated issue about the proliferation of political parties in our country that are littered everywhere and there is no result. So we are here actually to address the issue.
Also with us is Andrin Atem Ebako, who is a Panafricanist. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. KUM LEONARD, for this opportunity again tonight, and I want to send a special greetings to my co-panelists who are here tonight with us and to all viewers of My Media Prime. Thank you.
We are also in the company of Numbuseh Innocent. He's representing the Popular Action Party. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's always a pleasure to be here. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening to all the parishioners of Our Lady of Assumption Parish Center. Good evening to Mr. Tatu Enes, and good evening to His Excellency, Mr. Ndrin Stabe of the Popular Actions Party. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Okay, good evening to all of you watching the program. We are going to struggle to get through to Ndifor Richard in the course of the program, but let us start with you, Apostle Valentine Ambe Ngwa. When you saw the communique issued by Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration announcing the arrival of 11 new political parties, you told yourself that our democracy was really advancing?
I'm doing what I did when I read the communique. I laughed. Okay. So I'm here to demonstrate what I did when I saw the communique, that 11 political parties were added to already 305 political parties in the country. To me, is sickening, it's heartbreaking, and really frustrating, because I do not think that's democracy. You see, there's a strategy put in place by the government in question to convince the world that democracy is taking place in Cameroon, of which there is no democracy here. Those 11 political parties added to the already 300 and something parties existing, to me, is an abuse to the cause of democracy. I'm going to explain this. I think Aija was far more even better off with the CNU political party. That was the only political party in the country, because power was directed to a particular direction and work was done effectively. With the multipartism in Cameroon, we have not seen the development and the accomplishment that a single party in a state could accomplish in the past. I don't know the benefit of multipartism, and I don't understand the benefit of the so many political parties as far as the country is concerned. I think the strength of a broom is in its numbers. If at all parties don't come together to handle issues that concern the country, we keep increasing party. It tells us that the formation of a political party is centered to the satisfaction of individuals, not to the well-being of the nation. You don't explain that a country that has a population of 26 million people, they have 300 and something political parties, which means every individual is forming that political party like a kind of off-license or a business set in place for their personal interest and their self-aggrandizement. Because any people who want to build a nation will form become two strong parties that will be exchanging power from time to time. Now, if you organize a political party and you are able to win just a constituency, it means you are not guaranteed to take power. And if you are not here to take power, it means your interest is to look for either a council or a parliamentary seat that will be giving you money to feed yourself and your family. Has the political system in Cameroon become a business where people are buying shares? Has it become a market square where people are owning shades? Because I don't call those things political parties, I call them shades in market where business people are selling different products because the product is their ideology. I'm wondering if at all it is a family property that portions have been cut to individuals for each person to take a portion of the farmland and then cultivate either huckleberry, another person is cultivating watermelon. What is Cameroon turning into? Because this is really, really confusing. How can a nation have 300 and something political parties? It's really confusing, Mr. Leo. I think before we get out of this place, those who are following political parties will give us reason why they are doing all this trade and trade by barter business here in this country. Okay.
Yes, you think that this addition is going to be kind in the population that love for politicking and see need to push for political parties to bring change? I'm talking about the existing voters party in the nation.
Mr. Leo, I think that one of the first things that Cameroonians should be focused on, they should focus in seeing that Cameroon actually deserves its sovereignty and its dignity and its honor. You see, Mr. Leo, honor is something that all men are born with. It is not something that can be granted to you. We need to be able to regain the honor of our ancestors who fought for the self-emancipation of this nation and this continent. We need to bring about the voice of our people and the spirit of our nation. Mr. Leo, this is very important when you live in a country whereby all these political parties who do not serve the national interest of their nation, it has all become like middlemen and the machines that are trying to cut out their own share of the deal. I really think that these are the steps that I would say that we are far away from democracy, because I remember way back in the 1800s when George Washington, the first elected American president to say, who brought in democracy in America, in his second tenure, before he stepped down, there were two parties that rose up at that period. And what he did was that he adopted a system, a policy in his system, whereby all those parties were obliged or obligated to look at the national interest of their nation and not personal interest. He had already built a system and a legacy, which he now used democracy to cement that. And while opposition parties were rising up, he made sure he wrote 51 pages in a pamphlet and sent all around America so that Americans should see the vision of where their nation was going to. A good leader is a one that is able to create a legacy that favors his generation for many years and hundreds of years to come, whereby his citizens are able to see a future in their own country. Mr. Leo, it is not the case in Africa. It's not the case in Cameroon, as I would say. I keep saying that what has Cameroon achieved to apply democracy? We have not achieved anything. If today His Excellency Paul Biya falls down, what does Cameroonians have to succeed him? Nothing. We have been unable. We have failed to build systems that are able to outlift our presidents, that are able to outlift the how will I put it, that is able to create security and future for our generations to come. Our own countries are one that are dependent on one person. And all these opposition parties begin to rise up to do what? To seize the presidential seat and make it to become now a tribal issue. So we need to get past the level where, Mr. Leo, when we talk about democracy, we should understand that the national interest of Cameroonians should be considered first as a priority. You cannot tell me, Mr. Leo, we are talking here of about 305 or how many political parties in Cameroon. 10 has been added here, Mr. Leo. Cameroon is still in a stagnation position. Cameroon is unable to move forward. When you occupy a position of headship, Mr. Leo, When you are unable to make steps forward, it means that you are putting the population under a position to overtake you. It means that this will create tensions and uprisings in this country. We don't need, Mr. Leo, this kind of systems that are unable to guarantee a better life for their own people in their own country. All these opposition parties you see like this, these are dividing and splitting the energy, the visions of our young men that should have assimilated and built a unison to change this nation. Our labor force, our human resources are being splitted behind all these opposition parties. How can Cameroonians tell me they want to build a nation and they divide themselves? People build when they come together, and when you want to destroy, that's when you split people into small parts. So this government should not, I will still say, and all these other heads of opposition parties, I think they are all embarrassment, because everybody here wants to get a share of that national cake. And I still say this, that Cameroon, as I know, did not gain a sovereignty by taking it. It gained a sovereignty by negotiating, keeping the interest of another person at the expense of your population, exercising your own tyranny to support the price of those that are above you, Mr. Leo, until we come to the place where we will have leaders that are able to reflect, I still say, the vision and the hope and the future of their people in their own nation, and not leaders that oppresses and kill their own people in the interest of their own enemy. These are not the kind of leaders we need in Cameroon. So I am saying that if Cameroon is going to move forward, Mr. Leo, Cameroonians will need to come together. I think that this is an abuse to human rights, this is an abuse to democracy, having so many parties in a country that we have had one president since 1984. I still don't believe that a man who did not enter through election can be voted out of election, as a great apostle put. So we need to come together if we are going to change this country. It will take Cameroonians who have foresight of their nation, Cameroonians who will build solidarity, Cameroonians who understand that Cameroon is for Cameroonians and only Cameroonians can build Cameroon. Permit me to say this lastly, Mr. Liu. When we Cameroonians will run out of our country and go to the West, the same West used Africans in building their own empires. I ask this question: let our leaders exploit us. Let them turn us as slaves and build our own nation. Let them use Cameroonians in building Cameroon. If they still depend on the West, as they used to call the West to come and solve the problems in Cameroon, while the West has used Cameroonians, used Africans in building their own empire, and yet we still depend on them.
Good evening to you, Mumu in Klusam, and to you, Martin Fru. Good evening to you, Mirimba, and to His Grace Desmond Lawani, all watching via social media. Not forgetting you, Makia Valentine. Yes, Mr. Innocent. He says that it is an abuse to human rights and a host of others, but some people see it as also an expression of the existence of freedom of expression and advancement of democracy, to say that Cameroon is not a dictatorship.
Freedom of expression, indeed, you say, Mr. Leo.
Yes, yeah, you and I are talking here now.
It is a shame to use that kind of a word in this kind of a place where we are in a situation of dictatorship. We are not afraid of the word because that is the reality. Now, this is a strategy in which the regime in Yaoundé is using to clout on power. Now, they have benefited from the cultural diversity of Cameroonians, and they are using it to divide and rule Cameroonians. Remember when the Anglophone crisis started, now they painted it and put it aside and call it an Anglophone problem, so that a Cameroonian from the West who has a contribution to contribute will step aside and say, this is none of my business, this is an Anglophone problem. Now, looking keenly, other political parties have risen who had vision for this country. The regime in Yaoundé has tribalized it, making it, this is a party of these people. Now, talking about the legalization of the new 11 political parties.
Yes.
This is an abuse of democracy, as my co-panelist said it. Because look at the nation in which we find ourselves, where political leaders are arrested and jailed incommunicado 8 to 1 year without trials. Is that the kind of democracy we are talking about? Where political leaders who have such powers and vision for their country are arrested and jailed.
Maybe things are changing.
Changing to where, Mr. Leo?
With the creation of new political parties.
With the creation of new political parties to do what? Cameroon is in a critical state where we are heading towards 2025 presidential election. And the regime is in Yaoundé is a very smart regime. Now they are distracting Cameroonians who are waiting for change in 2025. Now these are subsets who are coming in to derail the vision of Cameroonians who want to come together and form a strong political force to challenge the regime and put them out and lead this country.
Okay. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, we know that there were more than 300 existing political parties in Cameroon, and we have known their scores in previous elections. Many have never attempted running for municipal elections. These 11 new political parties, we know some of the names. Where are they going to get the militants?
The million-man question is that these political parties are coming from which regions? There are 10 regions in Cameroon. These political parties came from which of the regions? Is it from the 10 regions? One.
Yeah.
Number
National parties.
Yes,
does it really matter?
That's I'm saying that we have 254 tribes in Cameroon. We have 316 political parties. Let us consider each political party as a tribal group. It means we have parties plentier than tribes. Who is going to vote who? We have the Beti party. We have the Womb party. We have the Bafut party. We have the Kupe Maningoba party. We have the Bafor party. That is to say, we have to create more seats in the parliament. 180 seats are not sufficient in this country. There's a mistake somewhere. Because each parliamentarian must come from a tribe, according to the tribal group. So I don't call them political parties, I call them tribal groups. Now we should be doing competition for cultural activities, not political activities, because tribes compete in culture. They should be bringing juju from the west to dance with the juju from the north, and the juju from the east to dance. No, people should not laugh. How can a nation with 254 tribes have 316 parties? The equation and the ratio. Oh God. God, you have mercy. Where are the militants going to come from? We have political parties in Cameroon that are in bags. In bags. The president has his document in his bag. He does not have an existing office. Then they are adding 11 political parties. I know of political parties that are yet to find 6 members. Now we have 300 and something parties. The ruling party, when it's winning election, it wins with 70-something%. Now we are taking the remaining 25% to distribute to 316 parties. It means each party will have 0.000. I don't like approaching topics like this because I become very wise. I become very wise. What we will be laughing, but it is really disappointing. Whites will sit who introduce us to democracy and ask if we are okay. They will ask us if at all we have taken this democracy, we are trying to pound in a mortar and then produce another species of democracy. It's not democracy, we are practicing demon crazy. It's demon crazy that is practiced here. This is humiliating because I think that the people who introduce democracy, when they sit back, they should know, oh, we have raised some people in Africa. Go to nations like Ghana, you have like CPP and NDC. Even though there are other political parties, but they are mellowed. You go to Nigeria, you have APC, you have PDP. It is mellowed. You go to Tanzania, there is a ruling party, and then the other parties are, there are 2 major competitors. Just like in America, you have Republicans and Democrats. Now, there are parties in Nigeria who are political parties, but they are not projected. It's to tell you that in Nigeria, when they are talking about elections, it's either PDP or APC. But in Cameroon, as we stand right now, we don't even know the #1 political party that is contesting. You used to have SDF. SDF was the one that gave us the president, okay, CPDM, SDF. SDF has disappeared. CRM has come, is disappearing. PCRN is coming, is disappearing. You discover that PCRN is probably Sanaga Maritime. All the council it got, all the parliamentary it got is in Sanaga Maritime. If Kanto was to go in for elections, you will discover that all the council they will get it from West. All the council they will get. And then if PAP also comes, or they will gather, all their council will come from Akwaya, where Ayapo came from. I'm telling you, because you said that from the way things are going now, it is purely what a tribal group. It's not just a political party. So we should be naming them not political party. We'll call the Njang Association, the Dispo Cultural Association, the Kanto Cultural Association, the Libi Cultural Association. Those are the cultural associations we have. Please, let's not make the white men begin to laugh at us. There are things we should not bring in public.
Okay, good evening to you, Gilberto Salou, Mba Samuel Efon. Good evening to you, Alain Amoka, and to you, Mary, Mba Chisap, and all of you watching us. Now, he raised an issue that it is an attempt to weaken the power of the opposition. Do we have a strong opposition in Cameroon, and what would be the interest to weaken it further?
Mr. Liu, I would not even say we have a strong opposition, nor do we have a strong government. I think that Cameroon is a failed state. Not only today, it has gone way back from when the colonial master put a diaper on this nation and the leaders of this nation. You see, but I will still go back to address some of the root cause of why we are having this kind of tribal political parties that are all there to head towards the presidential seat to make it their own profit and their own gain. You see, and that is why I was saying that we are not at that level to have applied democracy, and that's why I felt that when democracy came to Africa as a condition for its independence, that it must be used in its constitution, that they must apply democracy. I felt that that was a trap and another way to bring Cameroon and many of these African countries in a state where they are in a dependency state to the West. Like I still talk about the George Washington, the democracy at that time, to be more precise, the essence of democracy was to, after they had built, like I still say, an empire, a legacy, a future for the Americans for hundreds of years to come, on the blood of our ancestors, an economy which they built, which you cannot disentangle the legacy of transatlantic slave trade and the slave that built America and built Europe. When they now had put that in security, they use now democracy as a distraction and as a delay, so that Africans and the African Americans could not point a finger on a particular individual. Power now became rotational, where you cannot find blame on a particular individual. Now it's a system now that controls. That was the essence of democracy, to cement a pure built legacy economy which they had acquired for many years. Now when you come now to us in Cameroon, I kept asking the question, what did Cameroon had achieved in the 60s to have applied democracy in its system? The answer is none. I'll give you a good example. Take a look at Tanzania. Tanzania had come of age where it can apply democracy because Magufuli was able to build a system. These are presidents who knew that countries do operate like operating system, where they are not run by an individual. We saw in Chad when Idris Deby fell down, the Chadians started crying that everybody is in trouble. All other neighboring African countries that were relying on Chad for security, everybody began getting into a panic mode. Why? Because it was one man and not a system. And I kept saying that if Cameroon is going to succeed and build a legacy for its citizens, we need to grow past the level of having an individual having to decide what is going to happen around Cameroon, choosing the kind of a political opposition political party that should be and the others that should not be. That's why I said there is no strong opposition party, because no one in any election can remove CPDM in power. Why do I say that? There is no free and fair election, mostly in these our times that we have seen in Africa. It's not like in the Democratic of Congo, where the first democratic elected president or leader who was Patrice Lumumba, who was assassinated by Mobutu. We don't have that. Why? Because you cannot expect poor people whose dignity and honor has been removed, and you are calling those people to go into an election. You can always buy their consciences. Tell me, how does Idris Deby won 80% of votes in Chad? The same Chad with the Chadians do not want him. How do you explain that? 2018, we saw elections here, a landslide in Cameroon. How do you explain that? If Cameroonians were all living well, comfortably, trust me, people like His Excellency Head of State Paul Biya will never be in power. All these ministers you see by appointment, none of them will hold those positions. We need to get to a point, and this is what I keep saying, politics must never or must not be discussed under the banner of political party. Cameroonians should all be involved in politics and decide their own future. We need to get to the point where we can sit down and the population decide and say, we want Apostle Ambe, for example, to be our governor. We want Apostle Ambe to be our president, because we have seen the skills and capacity that he can carry people forward. That is where we should. You see, when I look at all these things, it tells me, Mr. Liu, that we are not ready for change. Because if truly Cameroonians were ready for change, they would have known what to do. Because change lies in the hands of the population. We have seen that from Egypt to Mali to which other country again? Nigeria and many other countries, where we saw the population that made the government, put the government in duress to change policies in the favor of its citizens. So, Mr. Liu, I'm saying that democracy in this country has not gotten to a point where Cameroon can apply democracy. Democracy is good. I'm not against democracy. It's only good, like I said, democracy without economic autonomy is like a businessman who has no capital. We are living in a society where there are no checks and balance. George Washington made sure that in the Constitution he passed a law where there must be checks and balance. A society with no accountability is a society that promotes witchcraft, and we need to change it, because all these people we have in place. Mr. Liu, what are we talking? Look at all the commissions they have opened to have solved the problem which is going on in the Northwest and Southwest. It's just to tell you that Cameroonians are not ready for any change in their own country. We need a society, we need a system, we need a government that is able to do us checks and balance, account to those that keep you up there, okay, and those that you reflect. Okay,
Mr. Innocent, to you raised the issue of you are rather blaming the government for creating these political parties. Are you saying that the government asked Celestin Germain to quit the STF and then the CRM again decide to go create his party, and a host of others, their parties also amongst the 315 parties now? Or was your party created to weaken the others? Or why do you think that this ones will come to distort the projects that you people had for Cameroon?
When you talk about the political party, the first question you ask is, what is the vision of this political party? Looking keenly, you ask yourself, what is the vision of these other political parties? Like there are political parties, like Apostle Ambe said, that they have no office. Their office is in a back. They have no name. They did nothing. They have done nothing. Now, looking keenly, in a situation like that of our country, where the CPDM, who win election with 70%, now meaning it's a landslide victory, and there is a sense in which they say Cameroon is a democratic republic. But bear with me, Mr. Liu, if the head of state, President Biya, is to pass around this road here, a president who is afraid of the people who elected him, they will need to shut down every bar, every school to guarantee his security. Is that the kind of democracy the government is projecting to the people? For a president, you are afraid of the people who elected you. At times, I wept, having found myself in this country, because the kind of country that we dream to live in. We dream to live in a country where we will practice democracy, the rule by the choice of the people. That is democracy. But what we find ourselves in Cameroon is the contrary.
Would you blame here? You are blaming the government for not instituting good democratic principles. But my question stands: did the government ask these people to come and apply to create political parties? Are they not aware that the system is not as good as you painted?
Mr. Leo, there are organizations, groups that meant well for Cameroonians, and they were banned by these same people. So anything approved by these people, we have tested them for the past 40 years, and 40 years is enough to give to a regime for a trial. 60 years of independence under a regime, it is the same people, because CPDM was not created. CPDM was born from CNU. So they inherited CNU and just changed the name. So we can say they have been at the helm of power for 60 years. 60 years after independence, yet poverty is alive and active in Cameroon. Communities, I am here right now. I'm not sure my people from Santa can follow me live, because I will bear with you. Call to confirm there will be power, there will be black out there in Santa. 60 years after independence, the regime has a vision, saying Vision 2035. They thought it was something that will never come. We are about 13 years to that 2035, and nothing has been realized.
Yeah, but my question stands, Mr. Innocent. If things are this bad, why are people creating political parties? And if you think that they are, because the government approved them, it means that they are not good, they are not going to work in favor of the people. The CRM was approved by the government, the SDF was also approved by, and all these other political parties, CPRN, even your party.
True, it was approved by the government. Had it been the government had the vision of the kind of pressure, real political parties, let me use this word, permit me to use this word, real political parties, he wouldn't have given them the go ahead. Like Apostle Ambe asks, these new created political parties, from which regions are they coming from? It's a very big question. Go and follow the list from the names of the presidents. You can easily identify from which direction they are coming from. What is their objectives? Nobody knows. They have not presented their objective to Cameroonians. So the legalization of this political party is an attempted approach to derail the focus of Cameroonians towards the change we all are longing for. Because at this extent, political parties are thinking of coming together and finding a way forward, how to push this country forward. Because the Cameroon's milieu has painted politics, has demonized politics to an extent where every young Cameroonian will fear to be involved in the activities that will better the life of Cameroonians.
Okay, that will better the lives of Cameroonians. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, we are talking about political parties. Is it a sign of a healthy democracy, whatever we may be saying here, to say that the government says, okay, I have been consistently been attacked for Muslim democracy. This person say they want to contribute in nation building. Maybe these other guys have failed, and let us also give opportunity for this new breed of political parties to get functional. But this creation, how does it even affect the CPDM?
The issue is we have to first of all define what is democracy.
Okay.
Democracy, as commonly defined, is government of the people, for the people, by the people. It's not the increment of political parties that's democracy. It's conducting free and fair elections. Let the people decide who will rule them. If you create satellite parties under a ruling party that costs 77% in an election in the midst of 316 parties, is to tell you that those other 315 parties, their members answer the name of another party, they voted the party in power. Number two, the easiest way to be appointed in Cameroon is to create a political party and intimidate a government. Once you create a political party and intimidate the government, you will easily be appointed. If you think I'm lying, you ask the Chiromas, you ask the Bilbobas, you ask the rest who had political parties in this country, and they were being swallowed by the government. Jide Momo just woke up and said the government is this and that. I saw some of his videos where he insulted the government, and then suddenly bang bang, minister delegate, minister of justice. Kang. So it is easier if you are hungry, to all Cameroonians who are hungry, because Albert Einstein said you don't give the voting card to an hungry man. The hungry man will vote who fits his stomach, not who will change the society. So we have a good number of people who are hungry. They have created parties because they are looking for appointment. But it's rather unfortunate that most of the offices are occupied. So if you are creating a party now to be appointed, there is no space for you. That's why they have created regional councillors who don't have any job. Regional presidents who have no job. Now they are agitating that we have given office to us who don't even have what to do, because their job is done by the mayor, their job is done by the DO, their job is done by the governor. So they are just there confused. We create these offices to impress the people and to satisfy the international community when there is no job to be done. They say they have given them almost a year now and no job has been done because they don't have any job. Whose job? What is the job of a regional president? He has no job. So when we are talking about creating political parties, all these parties were created now to look for an easy means of survival. That's why we have parties that have names. They don't have offices. We have parties that have 3 members as their executive, as their militant, as their community. We have parties that are even rejected by their own biological communities. Their cultural roots have rejected them. The parties are in names. I wonder how much money is given to those parties. Parties that have no council, no councillor, no parliamentarian, nothing to nothing, but it's a party. It is to tell you that this political party approach is an easy means for appointment. And that is if you are smart. If you are not smart, how do you explain that all political parties and opposition parties in the country are working in the government? They are working in the government. An opposition minister, opposition leader is a minister. Chiroma Bakari is a minister. Beluba Magari is a minister. But those are opposition parties in the country. UNDP has 16 seats in the parliament, and their president is a minister in the same government where they are against the government, and they have minutes. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. So the gymnastic is too much, and the manipulation and the cataclysm has gone to an extent where Cameroonians are just tired. You can keep creating your cultural groups and creating your market shades and creating your young groups and begin to go ahead. We are watching you people. It's only God that will intervene in this country, because adding 11 political parties, listen to me, if we begin to cut Cameroon into small pieces. In Niger, what happened recently was that the major political party confronted the opposition party. Mohamed Bazoum won by 53%. 18 political parties assembled behind the opposition party, and they were still defeated by the major ruling party. 18. That is to tell you that 314 parties can join behind SDF. CPDM will still have 77%. Are you telling me that 314 parties join SDF and then one party still conquer them? That is to still tell you that the one party that is in charge is having different names. I can be an accountant and also be a pastor. I can go to call me accountant and go to call me pastor. So when you go to call you CPDM, the other time they call CPDM CPRN, the other so there is just names changing. Okay. And nothing is happening.
Good evening to you, Nganyo Ibai, and to you, Dif Obi. Pedro, the priest, good evening to you. Pedro, hope you are praying for my media prime. Let us listen to Mr. Sama, who is going to be contributing to this topic from Boya. Seemingly, Mr. Sama is not yet ready. Let me come back to you. Is this also in preparation? Can we say that this is Cameroon's way of signaling its preparation for the presidential elections for 2025?
Not really, Mr. Leo. The way I look at the political parties, the rise up of all these opposition parties, to me, it seems like the government is using it to build sensors, to know the how will I put it, to be able to sense the country and see if there's any uprising or there's any rival who really wants to come and challenge the government, so that they can already start knowing how to negotiate. But like I've been saying, Mr. Liu, you see, all what we are doing in Cameroon, we don't need experts. Like I kept saying, you don't need specialists, you don't need people who are trained, you don't need to travel abroad to be qualified to be a head of state in a country. Like I keep saying, you only need a good political will, you need to have the people at heart, and you need to be able to reflect the people that you represent. You need to be able to reflect your nation and the spirit of your people. This is very important, Mr. Liu. So this is not what we get, and this is what really wonders me, because I really do not understand a country such as Cameroon, where in every 10 years is able to create 7 million poor Cameroonians. And I still find it a challenge to understand why other nationals come in here like Chinese, French, within 1-2 years, and they are all billionaires. Even Trump do testify that his friends, when they do travel and come to Africa, they all come back billionaires. So I wonder what is a challenge that Cameroonians themselves are not able to seize this opportunity which lingers in their own country, and we find yet Cameroonians that are running out of Cameroon to go and look for a future in another country which was built at the expense of his own ancestors. So you come to realize that the problem we are facing down in Cameroon and in many of these other African countries is the problem of leadership. We don't have leaders that are purely connected and elected by the people. We have leaders, like I keep saying, who have shown to us openly and clearly that they have become middlemen. And I say that it is easy for us to just allow Macron become a president in our country than to have middlemen, because it's becoming too expensive for Cameroonians. It is easy to allow whoever they are serving the interest to lead us, because it's becoming very confusing. How do you explain, like I keep saying, you are head of state in a country and you choose to take a plane and you don't fear plane crash, travel thousands of kilometers to go and meet a young boy of 35-year-old, a boy I saw Nana Addo in Ghana conducted deliverance on, Macron. You went and met him to tell him how a plan you had for your country did not work. It is only to tell you that our leaders understand that systems are the best things to rule nation and not persons. If he could submit to Macron, who is a 35-year-old boy, it acknowledges that that system is older than him and that system is bigger than him. So whoever comes there, you are his boss. So Mr. Liu, I still come to say that it cannot be a challenge in Cameroon when we have seen what people like Magufuli did in the space of few years in their first tenure. It is evidently clear that we don't need years to make changes in our nation. Cameroonians, as of this point, it means if they decide today, by 2022, all Cameroonians should be smiling in their country. Cameroonians should not be leaving Cameroon. If only their leaders can safeguard the national interest of their nation, I wonder to find leaders that can protect a container and not the content. The content in the container has become expired. It is smelling. Whose interests are they protecting, Mr. Liu? This is very, very important, because when I look at the legacy and look at the speech the president of Malawi gave concerning Magufuli, it means that anything is possible. Magufuli made us to understand that even though our natural reserves is being held by our colonial masters, Africa can emerge. Even though you don't need to depend on loan like he made Tanzania under a GDP of -6%. He was able to raise it to an middle income class nation. He made us to understand that any African leader that depends on aid, loan and donation invites curse to his nation, because why? You are loaning a money which has been extorted, exploited under the expenses of your ancestors, the blood of your ancestors.
using Africans, Mr. Liu, I still come back to ask this question, that if Macron today is offering $2 billion for Africans not to travel and come to Europe, it's offering $2 billion to the African head of states, and they have used the same Africa in being what they are. I remember the analysis the apostle gave, and I do agree with him. There is no point any African should complain of the West, because here Magufuli has made us to understand that change can come from any angle if the leader has a good will for his people.
Mr. Ebako, Mr. Innocent, now, do we need more than 2-3 political parties in Cameroon?
There is a sense in which people have different ideologies. Now, the regime has lasted so long in power, and people have different ideologies of change. People have different ideologies in which they think through these ideologies they can bring change to the nation, because every political party is laying claim of having a masterpiece plan that will lead this nation to emerge. So there is a sense in which every good thought from every Cameroonian or every political party should be accepted. But creating more political parties in a situation like this will not help matters, because there are already existing political parties. No matter how large or how small your vision is, you can meet a fellow political parties in which you can emerge, join your vision, you join forces together and move forward. But since politics in the African milieu is a game of interest, that is why political parties are emerging every day. Now, I choose to be a militant of my political party because they have a vision that I buy the vision, and I would like to participate in that vision to bring change into this nation. So there is another sense in which there is a need for more political parties, but not to the detriment of the people, because politics means standing for the interests of your people, fighting for the interests of your people. But in the context of Cameroon and Africa at large, politics means fighting for your stomach, and that is where the African problem lies.
Okay, that is where the African problem lies. I followed what the Guardian Post wrote today and plead on other Anglophones elites to speak out. Okay, that is our second topic, which we are entering now. Let me take a few messages. Good evening. Good program, Mr. Liu. Democracy came is an insulate. People are killed here and there, but the so-called Prime Minister of Territorial Administration and government are there creating committee and political parties in the name of democracy and are unable to stop the war in the southwest and northwest regions. I wash hand for this government. I am Christian, writing from Tatum. Good evening to you, Christian. Good evening to you, Mr. KUM, and to your rich panel. I have said on some media platforms that it is easier and faster to create a political party in Cameroon than open an enterprise that can employ at least 1,000 jobless Cameroonians. The issue in this country is that of misplaced priority. Tumi Gilbert, writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Is Bertrand in Boya? I think the solution to all this is for Cameroon to go back to one-party system. No need for waste of finances during campaigns whereby the ruling party still wins. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Desmond from Loom. I don't have much to say. Okay, Cameroon needs prayers. That is all I can say for now. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all our speakers, most especially to the apostle. I love all his ideas. They are always straightforward and heavenly. To you, I say more wisdom. Prince C is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I thank you for this wonderful program and your panelists who are educating us on the politics of this nation. From James and Nilan, writing from Bamenda. I think we will only be fine when we have two political parties in this country. That is the ruling party and the opposition party. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Legalization of 11 political parties is a total abuse of democracy. The regime should understand that not long from one there will be a wind of change. Ewube Felix Mpang, writing from Yaoundé. Lots of messages from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Great program. Just wish to acknowledge and comment on Mr. Ambe's sense of reasoning. Your children are blessings having you as a dad. Eunice is writing from Yaoundé. This you are calling from Bomenda. To me, I want to say that men go out, okay? From that, what you're writing is not connected to what we are discussing here. So, we have to move to our second topic after the short break. Okay, our second topic, Senator Mbella Moki whips for Anglophones regions in Cameroon. So we are going to be looking at what the senator said. He is a Boya-based senator. I will look at some of the points he raised. We are going to be discussing on it. Ella, I would have loved to have the pictures of Senator Mbella Moki Charles behind there. He is the one who is talking and not the National Assembly. Okay. CPDM Senator Mbella Moki whips for Anglophone regions. We'll start with you. He says that he blames the decentralization ministry for stalling effective takeoff of the regional councils. You think that the ministry is not serious, or they are not equipped, or they lack the will to get things effectively done downfield?
You see, when ministries are created, because I realize that Cameroon has more ministries and ministers than jobs. You see a simple example in the case of Magufuli, who came to power and he reduced, he had 30 ministers and 30 ministries. He reduced it to 16. It's to tell you that when ministries are many in a nation, the bulk of responsibility is much. And when things are compressed and more job is given to a few persons, the cost of running ministries is reduced. Creating a ministry of decentralization when there is Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization is like creating another responsibility that was supposed to have been managed by another individual. This decentralization system is introduced into Cameroon, and it has not been introduced the proper way. That's the reason why they are facing a lot of difficulties. Cameroon's decentralization is the strangest of all decentralizations we have seen as compared to other countries in the world. You don't see a decentralized system whereby power is still in control at the hem. You don't see the centralized system of government whereby the people who are sent to carry out responsibility, their own responsibility is occupied by appointed administrators. The president of a region, regional council president, is equivalent to a governor in actual decentralization, which means the office of a governor, SDO and DOs were supposed to be scraped out of those regions. And these people were supposed to be given the opportunity to effectively run their responsibilities. It's like giving two persons the same job, because what the governor is doing is the same thing the regional president was supposed to be doing. What the SDO and the DOs are doing there is the same thing all the other councillors are supposed to be doing. It's like creating an office and giving somebody without any specific assignment. So if you see Senator Mbella Moki Charles, which somebody I admire, since he started working even as mayor in the Boya municipality before going to the Senate, he's been very outspoken and very clear on certain terms. It is not the Ministry of Decentralization that is holding people from working. I think they have created offices without having specific assignment or jobs for the individuals in question. Because if at all there was actually something for them to do, the government will not be waiting to ask people to go to work if there is work to be done. But there is no work to be done anywhere. I'm very sure those offices were created to fight the Anglophone crisis as a means of appeasing the people. And it's like a kind of cosmetic and makeshift idea that can last only for a while. It would appear if the crisis were to be calm or stopped by this particular decentralization, in the nearby future such a ministry will be scrapped or wiped out, because it practically has no responsibility for the people that have given such offices to carry out. I don't see how people are supposed to have 4 sessions per year. This is the month of May. They have had just 1 session. Are you telling us that they are going to hold the remaining 3 sessions beginning from this month of May to December? It makes no sense. And I'm sure those 4 sessions were supposed to be done after a quarter of the year. January, February, March, first session, April, May, June, second session, June, July, August, and then the December month. So it's surprising to realize that even the sessions they were to hold and sit down and discuss, there have been no sessions. Why no sessions? Because there is practically nothing to discuss. Number 2, there is no job to be done. If jobs were there to be done and things to be discussed, they will not be prolonging or frustrating the sitting down of these regional councillors and the regional president. So I think Senator Mbella Moki we appreciate and applauded for being outspoken and coming out clear to bring such a topic that we can even add our voice to it. Let the government see into the matter to either see how they will create enough responsibility for these elected officials, because this country is the only country whereby people who are appointed have power more than the ones that the people choose. If at all those regional councillors were elected, then I think they have authority and authority.
This, where no matter what you say does not really count, because you are not speaking to ignorant people or you are not speaking to aliens. You are speaking to your own brothers who have decided, how will I put it, who have decided to suppress and to oppress and to keep away the dignity and the rights of their own fellow men, because they want to support the prizes of very few men. You see, sometimes, if you permit me to Panafricanize this question you have just posed to me, sometimes you see, when you find issues like we have today in the English part of Cameroon, where we have ongoing and increasingly insecurity in those 2 regions, and then you have a state who seems to say, okay, we are going to do something about the situation to keep down the insecurity and to bring stability in those 2 regions. And here they put decentralization into place, and they created regional councillors and actors, special consulators for the 2 regions, in the essence to manage and to bring about some level of stability. And these same individuals that have been appointed in offices of operation are complaining that they have no jobs to do. It is just like expecting a tree to grow without no seed inside the soil. That is the way it sounds. When we talk about decentralization, Mr. Leo, we should be able to be talking about autonomy. You can't talk about decentralization without autonomy. It's like I said, democracy or independence or sovereignty without economic autonomy is just like a businessman who has no capital. So we should be serious when we come to issues like this. Here we are talking about bringing stability, and you come to realize that the very people that the Cameroonians are looking up to stabilize the country and to build the economy are not absolutely addressing and solving the problem. It's the same we are seeing today in Nigeria. The whole Nigeria today has become chaos, insecurity everywhere. Buhari now is calling on the US to come and help him bring stability in his own country. But these are the things that I'm saying, that when people begin to agitate, a good leader and a good government that has a heart for his people, that is there to serve and to build his nation, will, how will I put it, will address the issue before it even evolves, before it even mutates. But here you have leaders who feel that everything should be based on the military. You can use the military to crack down any protesters, to crack down any movement, to crack down any association that seems to be against the system. You don't lead people this way, and that's why I keep saying that we don't have monopoly over power. Today we have now had the rise up of the resistance group in those 2 regions
Today we now call them terrorists. I want every Cameroonian today to hear what I'm saying. This is how, at the end of the day, the people will end up with their acronyms or new names as terrorists. Mr. Leo, there's no analyst, whether in the West or in Africa, who will teach me about terrorism in Africa. That is how it began. This is our own brother, village brothers, people we know that have built to regain their honor. Today they have now become enemies of the state. Permit me to say how Patrice Lumumba in the 60s was assassinated, because America classified him as an enemy of the world because he prevented the exploitation of Belgium, Europe and America in Congo. And they used, the CIA find every way to poison him. They did not see. They went and gave $25,000 to Mobutu, as Mobutu was as rich as he was at that time. He refused and killed, assassinated Patrice Lumumba. So I am saying here that if we don't learn to quell down these kinds of tensions where people live in abject poverty, the basic rights to every human being is his honor and dignity, that has been stripped away from the people. The people rise up to exercise their own basic right. You use military and you want to crack them down. Today the people now have picked up arms. It has now become a different ball game. We're hearing all kinds of names, but I want to ask the question here. Like Moses was saying, you are fighting the wrong battle. Yeah, Cameroonians are fighting the wrong battle, because I see Cameroonians fighting Cameroonians when the genealogy of this problem, we have the master terrorist that is still living in Cameroon today, and we have our own Cameroonian brothers that are protecting the interests of their own enemy at the expense and the blood of their own people. This is a very bad sign of leadership. If we are not going to change this thing, I don't care whether you are French Cameroon or you are English Cameroon. These are all levels of insanity and level of madness when people begin to reduce themselves and their identity in a language which was brought by another person. We need to get past. Yes, Mr.
But Senator Mbella Moki is faulting the ministry for stifling, because according to him, they are rather supposed to play the facilitating role, because when we look at since the creation and election of these regional councils, definitely nothing is happening. So what then is the role of that ministry that was created way before they coming into a place of these regional councils?
Mr. Leo, his complaints and his worries are very true, and he is not the only one who spoke about it. I heard the other day on the radio where Chief Atem Ebako was saying the very same thing, that ever since these regional councils have been created, nothing has been done. That the only thing they have received from Yaoundé was computers which were all installed in French. You see, this is what I'm saying, that you are wanting to solve a problem and you are instead adding fuel to the problem. Okay. So if we don't begin to go back, Mr. Leo, I still say this thing, because it seems as if here there are different hybrids of Cameroonians. It seems as if there are some other people who are not Cameroonian. And until we change this mentality of having to side with the West, insecurity in Africa will never cease. Build all organizations you want. As long as our governments decide to compromise with the enemies of Africa and the enemies of the progress of the people of Africa, we will keep having the rise, whether of Boko Haram, Ambazonia, jihadists, Islamic extremists. Go to Mauritania. Go and interview the people there. The Sahel region where Idriss Deby was fighting, he was fighting his own countrymen. Even his nephew was among those that killed him. His own chief in command was among those that killed him. Where he was fighting was people from his own region, the northern part. I am saying that Africans have been fighting the wrong battle. The real terrorists in Africa are the French, the Americans, the Russia. China is almost a good person. If we were even colonized by China, would have been far gone developed, because China in the time of pandemic counseled all debts. In Europe, counseled 37 African countries counseled their debt, still gave the money to build their economy with no interest, no payback, even promises to do more. Acknowledges that the pandemic came from China. If we even had colonial masters like France, who had been here for hundreds of years in Africa, still putting us in debt,
Okay.
These are very bad partners.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Shilon writing from Boya. I just want to say there is no such a thing as democracy in Africa, let alone in Cameroon. Okay, this one says, Pakum, I knew very soon you will put on reading glasses. It just shows where your program is taking us to. Kudos. It's Prof. Nas. Yes, not easy. Very difficult at times. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm called Fixer. Please don't be distracted in the studio. The reason for the additional party is to put the president's son in power. Okay. Okay, please, very good programs, but we in Bamenda cannot enjoy. Help us correct the error fast. I don't know what the error is. Can you just tell us what the error is? Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is Bafia Dance. Cameroonians are selfish. Bless is writing from Bamenda. Also, can we take a listen to the first contribution by Mr. Sama Ngwa, all the way from Boya?
Good evening, Leo, and thank you for having me once again on your early program. I extend greetings to the other panelists in the studio out there with you in Douala, and to the ever-increasing family of my Media Prime viewers across the world. I would start by appreciating you for the work you are doing out there. It's actually a great job. Let me start with the first topic, which is on the issue relating to the Senator for the Southwest, Honorable Senator Mbella Moki Charles. I have read across several social media fora varied reactions to his outing. So many people castigate him and think that it's a game playing to the gallery from somebody who is talking and eating from both sides of his mouth, and a fence sitter who doesn't want to take sides. But I strongly disagree with that approach, and I look at it from the position of a neutralist. Permit me say that Senator Mbella Moki Charles is a politician, and it becomes very impossible for you to have a politician who takes a fixed position on an issue. Because you may be signing your own death warrant as a politician. And so, given the very sensitive nature of the issue at hand, I just expect him, like every other politician, to tread cautiously and talk cautiously, which is what he has done. Leo, let me bring to you this anecdote. There is this animal that is commonly known in Pidgin English as Toroki. They were talking about the tortoise. And the tortoise in the animal kingdom is often regarded as a very witty, a very cunning, a very clever and very intelligent animal. I've heard so many people sarcastically refer to Senator Mbella, not as Moki, but as Mbella Troki, because he is a very witty, a very sharp, a very clever politician in his own right. He has demonstrated that over the years, specifically and most especially back then when he won and took over the seat of municipal administrator or the mayor of the Boya Council. From then onwards, his political trajectory has always been one that has portrayed him as such as a tortoise, a political tortoise, I should say. Coming to the issue at hand, I have said that a majority of those who castigate him are those who think that the Anglophone crisis or the Anglophone problem in Cameroon can only be resolved using the Ambazonian instrument or weapon, which to me is a total fallacy. There are so many alternative and equally effective and more productive weapons that can be used to solve the Anglophone problem in this country. Some have opted for the Ambazonian option. Others before them had opted for the SCNC approach. Others had opted for the ACC1 and ACC2 approach. I think that he has opted for his approach, which is the approach of whining and dining with the enemy, but still talking truth to the enemy. Whining and dining with those who hold the key to the problem, but telling them, frankly, what do you think? And I think that that is a moderate position which can help us in its own way, if well handled by those on the other side, who can look into him and see that this is somebody who wines and dines with us, but is able to tell us the truth. Take it from me that Senator Mbella Moki is not just a senator of Boya, but he's a senator of the Southwest region and again a senator of the Republic. And so he talks in all of those capacities, as an individual, as a Bakwarian representing Fako persons, as a Southwesterner, and lastly as a Cameroonian. And so he talks with the authority bestowed on him from all of those dimensions. It is rare because we have seen others who have occupied much more authoritative positions but have not been able to say what he has said. I know, and I am very sure about that as we speak, Leo, Mbella Moki Charles would be under fire from his political rivals in Fako, from his political rivals in the Southwest, and from those in Yaoundé. I'm very convinced that from when that outing was published, that gentleman should be under fire. But I think that he's not a child and he must have foreseen this before doing it. This is not the first time he is coming out with such a seemingly controversial outing. He did that at the floor of the Senate, and he's doing it again, which means that we can still have people in the House, again as I said, who wine and dine with the enemy, but can still look at the enemy eyeball to eyeball and say, this is what I want and this is what I think. It is now incumbent on those on the other side to sit and look at it critically and objectively, if they want to, and say, this guy is seemingly different from the others who wine and dine with us but do not tell us the truth. Can we take...
Okay, that was Mr. Sama reacting to the outing of Senator Mbella Moki Charles. We continue with discussions out here in the studio. We are going to be coming back to you, Sama. He says that Southwest and Northwest Council suffocating under weight of supervisory authorities despite much trumpeted special status. The councils, nothing seemingly has changed.
The truth about the whole issue is, one, the people are deserted. There are some deserted councils where you have no people, no businesses. So how do we expect the growth of the council? Now, the special status of a thing is an empty vessel with a loud sounding noise, because there is a problem to be solved. Like I would say, the Anglophone crisis or the Anglophone problem is the dignity, the cultural heritage of a people, the pride of a people that has been tampered with. And unless this is restored, any other attempt or any other solution used to approach this problem is a waste of resources and a waste of time. So Senator Mbella Moki, whom we all know, is a man who was born and baptized with the Anglo-Saxon culture, a man who sympathizes with his people, because it is rare to hear a member from the CPDM to be outspoken in that manner. Like my co-panelist said, he's very sure he's under fire right now. And the issue is, as he has said this, only our fellow Anglophone brothers who contradict him, Because now in Cameroon, politics is a game of interest. Now to gain popularity and recognition in the CPDM Center Committee, they will contradict him to be more popular and be more relevant, and to show Mr. Bia that they loved him much. And since Mr. Bia has a policy, a strategy which he uses to appoint his delegate, he will go that way. Because looking keenly, Mr. Bia does not appoint out of competence. He appoints out of relationship and out of how committed you are to his political party. That is why when there is a need for an appointment, he goes to the CPDM Center Committee and pick a member there and give a post of responsibility. We have all facts to prove all these points we are raising.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Cameroonians don't love this country. How many political parties has France, USA, Nigeria, etc.? Why can't we copy from others? We are not serious at all. Mr. KUM Frederick is writing from Limbe. Oh, my brother, Mr. KUM. Extend greetings to my sister in the house there in Limbe. Gilbert writing from Yaoundé. This is happening because our old people take us into it. Let's take it as it is. But Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, do you also see with Senator Mbella Moki that we are talking about a dispensation of special status, which means that a lot more was supposed to have been given out to the councils operating within the northwest and southwest regions also because of the context of the crisis, but seemingly nothing is changing. How do we understand that even when they are operating under a special status?
Mr. Leo, we one time were told that the reason why Amadu Aiju dissolved the federal system of government because it was costly to run. I can tell you we are into a more deeper shit than the federal system. They said because two responsibilities or a single responsibility was occupied by two persons. This time around, a single responsibility is occupied by four persons. Because the role of a regional president is a role the governor is playing, is a role the SDO is playing, is a role the city mayor is playing, as well as a role as the DO is playing. All these people have the same responsibility. If I thought a federal system, two persons could occupy one office, and then we have a decentralized system where five persons occupy one office, which one is costly? That's the first question. Number two, to the best of my understanding, in business administration, sometimes if you are having a business that you cannot employ many workers, you have to redundant some workers and give dual responsibility to an individual in order to reduce cost. But not the same with Cameroon. We are crying of insufficient funds, yet we are creating more ministries, having more personalities to work, and then we do not even have the resources to pay them. Why don't we allow the Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization, the same person maintaining the same office with the same staff, yet accomplishing the work of two ministries? That's business management. Until we let politicians get out of management and leave business people to manage the economy. A politician can take power, but a politician cannot manage an economy. A politician is a man that has the big vision, but he has to call economists and business managers to run the vision into reality.
Business technocrat.
Business technocrat, because leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. So you catch the vision, you must not be the one to accomplish it. Call men who are technocrats in that area. This is where we have a problem. A politician is somebody that can manipulate elections, rigmarole affairs, and then take power. Taking power does not guarantee the fact that you can manage power. You can only give persons who are competent in certain areas. The fact that we have extended ministries in Cameroon and increased more ministries in Cameroon is part of the reason why theft has increased. The bulk of responsibility has overshadowed the national income in such a way that even the little resources we have, we are carrying them to run ministries that are of no relevance. The ministry when I was growing up had a Ministry of Education. Now it has been broken down to Ministry of Basic, Secondary, and Higher Education, which was a responsibility run by one person and a few staff. Now they have broken it to have more staffs, more ministers, and a lot of money is being put in that particular sector. Why don't we redundant some of this ministry, close them down, and give at least 2 responsibilities in order to reduce the cost of living? I'm a businessman. There was a time that I didn't have enough money to pay my teachers. I decided to make the class 5 teacher teach class 5 and 6. The class 3 teacher teach class 3 and 4, and the class 1 teacher teach class 1 and 2 on a salary that cannot be compared if I were to employ teachers in all those classes. So I think that the government should go back, because this creation of many offices, a regional council is there, the new government delegate whose name has been changed and position has not changed, responsibility has not changed, is called city mayor. So the special status changed a government delegate's name to a city mayor. So special status is a change of name. You are changed from Bayangi name to Bafor name. That's special status. You were taken from government delegate, now you are a city mayor. You shift from there. It's a change of name, it's not a change of responsibility. You have a DO in that same community, you have an SDO in that same region, you have a governor in that region, then you are looking for conciliators, you are looking for secretary generals, and you are looking for regional presidents to come and occupy what responsibility that a city mayor or a municipal mayor or a DO or an SDO cannot accomplish. Because if you go down to Mirie and Bunaberi, if you want to buy a stamp at the GO's office, you can still get that same stamp at the mayor's office. What responsibility are they playing? That is where the confusion is. So I think we have to compress responsibility, give huge responsibility in the hands of technocrats, while we can be able to manage the income. So if they say the circumstances are not changing, why would they change when we have 5 persons in the same region who are playing the same role, carrying out the same responsibility? There is no way the special status can be of any effect if these appointed responsibilities trained in Enam are not kicked out. If I had my way as a president in this country, the first thing I will close down is Economa Superior, the administration in magistracy. It is of no...
When we say Senator Mbella Moki is whipping for Anglophones, this is not the first time he's doing this. Let us take a listen to what he said earlier on in the Senate when the bill for, I'm sure, bilingualism was voted. I'm sure, I don't know, but let's just take a listen to it.
Believe that this deal is rather a poorly drafted piece of legislation. Wishy-washy, as some may put it. The bill is considered as intended to reignite the much talked about, or what is commonly described today as the Anglophone problem. Take, for instance, my colleagues have pointed to that, Section 26, 1 and 2. Considered by the average Northwesterner and Southwesterner as obnoxious. It truly betrays the very intentions to deny the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions the right to have English as an official working language, and the right to practice the common law in their courts, which is what sent lawyers to the streets in 2016 and led to the situation that we are grappling with today. I was in Boya and I saw what happened. We should all be frank, sincere, to say that we are tired of seeing the blood of innocent Cameroonians flow on our streets. It is that same denial of the use of English as the language of instruction and practice of the English system of education in schools in the South, Northwest and Southwest regions that sent teachers on strike in 2016. Many in an English-speaking region see this bill as a slap on our faces, which will go a long way in enriching the separatist arguments. While I totally subscribe to the need to promote English and French as vectors of bilingualism in Cameroon, I believe that the working languages in the northwest and southwest regions on the one hand and the 8 other regions on the other hand should first be underlined. These are sacrosanct and should not be tampered with. It is already clear, Mr. President, that the agitations are ongoing in the northwest and southwest regions against any attempt to force Bill number 132/PGL/SEN/2L down our throats. Let us avoid tensions and stiff resistance, which may cause more trouble in the present socio-political climate that we are facing in this country. What the people of the northwest and southwest regions await today most anxiously, Mr. President, Your Excellency.
Can we just listen to what he was going to say before we take?
Special status proposed at the major national dialogue and highlighted by the head of state. If somebody is not disrespectful of the head of state, why should you at this time now bring this piece of legislation? Why?
Okay, highlighting the issues at the Senate, it is often said that they go there to do hand clapping, but that is Senator Mbella Moki actually challenging his colleagues, saying that why do we get the president say something and we are struggling to do something else? But amongst the points raised, he says that he insists, Senator Mbella Moki insists that the non-effective takeoff of regional councils is a potential source of further tensions, civil strife in the northwest and southwest regions, because we are months into, after they were installed, nothing is happening.
Mr. Liu, I think that speech made by Honorable Mbella Moki, I think that is heart-touching. I think it's more of a sermon to all Cameroonians, and especially to the administration and to Yaoundé, because it is not only a slap to the jaw, but this is an insult and a huge sign of disrespect to a people's culture and identity. I think that Mr. Liu, at such a point like this, people will only build resistance, because at one point some people will not be willing to sell their birthrights. I used to say that even the story of Jacob and Esau was even better, because when Jacob stole the birthright of Esau, he remained in the family. If this our administrators, this our government, the CPDM, that I say only has won in Cameroon rather, and has not won in the rest of the world, if they even stole and used it in Cameroon, Cameroonians will still be smiling. The most aching part about it is that we don't see where the nation's resources are going to. Cameroonians are still plunging into mass poverty, and agitation is growing every day. We saw what happened in Fumbot the other day. Like he said, these are things that we should avoid. We should avoid tension, and we should avoid agitations. This is a good will when you live with people. Mr. Liu, I will still come back to say that I want to believe that our leaders that are in position of decision making are watching and hearing all what is happening today in Cameroon, because they will be reminded tomorrow of the decisions which they took yesterday. And I want to believe that every man should be responsible
for his own words and his own destiny, and people should have the right to charter their own destiny as long as it's within the morality of good governance. So, Mr. Leo, I'll come back to say that after watching that video, that speech of Mbella Moki, it has changed my conception totally. You know, to see an elite, a man of great honor in his municipality and in his region, in the Fako region, will cry out before his own brothers who claim to speak a different language. That seems to be now a barrier that Anglophones cannot communicate with Francophones. That's what they are telling us. The language has become now a barrier. That they need to create bilingualism, to create a bridge for two brothers to discuss, which that bridge till today has not been created. That's what they are telling us. So, Mr. Leo, I will still appeal to the good government of this country. A society that does not respect elders is a society, is like a tree that has no root. We will continue to pay our respect to the elderly people we have in places of authority today, and we will not say we have very personal problems with them. Our only worry and our only cry is that they should be able to reflect the Cameroonians and the spirit of their own nation and build their nations in such a way, Mr. Leo, if tomorrow Mr. Bia is not here, people should clap hands and say he did well. He has left well behind for Cameroonians to move forward.
Okay.
I remember Charles Taylor, he told the Liberians, he said, you people are rich enough. Don't worry. There's enough for everybody. Gaddafi and many others did the same thing. Thomas Sankara, we want to see that when Bia leaves, people have been praying that Bia should not go, because they know if he goes, the catastrophe that will come to Cameroon, many of these people will run away. Why should we put ourselves in that position that we are depending on one man who is almost getting to his 90 years? I think that it means all Cameroonians are almost on a death row. We should grow past a system whereby the government and the people that are working under the administration of Bia should look this country as if they came into marriage to form a family, build a legacy, show love to your wife. We are the wife of these leaders. Cameroon is almost like a woman that the head of state and his administration had gotten married to. What are they doing for their children? We stand here today. Okay. What are we going to stand to benefit?
Andrin, Mr. Leo, good evening to you and all those in the studio just watching the video you played, and I see some senators clapping. I wonder if they are even getting what he is saying. Please, I will need the kangaroo man on such a topic. It's Van Persie writing from Douala. Good evening to you, Van Persie. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I just want to say Ambe is full of wisdom. Teofil is writing from Douala too. Good evening to you in the panel. This is really a topic to discuss about for the state personnel to understand the way things are supposed to be. Politicians should leave the economy to people who can manage well. The president should reduce the ministries in Cameroon because too much of a thing is a disease and is killing the economy. By Ning Gami in Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to the apostles there with you. I'm Julius, following a program from Mato. We are passing through a lot here, sir. Yes, Asha, for what you guys are going through. We pray that God will take us through. This nation is 6 here above the program inside. See the spelling of bilingualism. Okay. We make errors, eh? Good evening, Mr. Leo and other panelists in the studio. I just want to use this opportunity to encourage you guys that you are doing a very great job via your daily programs. Nkong Wilson in Bankse, contributing from the far north region, that is Mokolo precisely. Glad to read from you always. Mr. Leo, I love your program. Elvis Brown is watching from Shell New Bell. Elvis, good evening to you. I would love to visit you at Shell New Bell. I don't know where it is. I would love to come there. This one says, Daisy, writing from Kumba, says, good evening, Mr. Leo, Apostle Ambe, and the rest of the panelists. Our democracy will be worse than before because people are out to feed their stomachs in the name of creating political parties. Good evening to you, Daisy. Good evening, Leo and panel. Special greetings from Apostle Ambe and my brother Atem Ebako from Talangai. Mr. Leo, please, with the creation of these many parties, are all parties involved? Why? Okay, Sam Rich is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panel. The creation of all these numerous political parties has no impact. They are fighting for their personal interest and for their families because they can't change anything in this system where all strategic posts are based on appointments. Teke Listavi writing from Yaoundé. Oops, lots of messages from Yaoundé this evening. Yes, Mr. Innocent, we listened to Senator Mbella Moki Charles. He thinks that something definitely has to be done to see into it that the special status is implemented, and that is pushing the Ministry of Decentralization to get to work. Oh, do we conclude that they do not have the arm with which to carry out their duties?
Mr. Leo, anything coming from the regime of Yaoundé is not something that we can rely on, because it's a system we have tested for 40 years. This is a regime that do not have the people, the Cameroonian people at heart. It is full of self-interest people. Like I said earlier, the special status of a thing was just an empty vessel with loud sounding names. Now the waves of the echo from an empty vessels will go very far, and people will know that this is something that they have given to these people. Why the people have nothing. The reality is seen on the ground. Now, the special status was given to solve the Anglophone crisis. Where are we today? Has it even attempted to solve the problem?
Yeah, but is that not what Senator Mbella Moki Charles is raising? Because according to him, there may be some persons in Yaoundé who would not want to let power go down to the regions.
It is a system. Senator Mbella Moki Charles, like I said, he was a man baptized with an Anglo-Saxon culture, the culture of sympathy, the culture of brotherliness. He feels for his people. He understands that he is there representing a people, and the concern, the worries of the people should be his #1 priority. But to whom is he crying to? He is crying to a people that will not hear him. Because the agenda of their positions, the agenda of the authorities in this country is not for the well-being of their citizens. They are there to use the natural resources God has blessed Cameroon with for their own personal interests. So Senator Mbella Moki Charles, he has a good heart, but who is he crying to? He is knocking an empty door. The regime of Mr. Biya, we have tested this regime for 40 years. It has proven that it has nothing good for Cameroonians. And that is why the Popular Action Party and other Cameroonians see that it is time for Mr. Biya to go, so that Cameroon can have a new face. Cameroon is into this because of the kinds of leaders we have, who do not see the plight of their people. Now, they have made Cameroonians to know that once you are able to thank the head of state, you are a leader, you are qualified to serve in the Cameroon government. Now, once you can appreciate Mr. Biya for any move he makes. Now, some people go to the extent any small thing he does, they say, le don de chef de l'État, the gift of the head of state. I wonder if this man went to Mvomeka, his village, cultivated tomato, harvested, and brought the proceeds and gave to Cameroonians.
Is that part of our topic?
Mr. Leo. Anyway, so it's a system.
Okay.
It's a system where nothing good can come out from them. We have tested them with time, and we have realized that it is time they go.
Are you proud? Are you not proud of the education you got from the country?
Mr. Leo, talking about my education is the
It's a
worst
waste.
part of my life you can talk about.
Okay, it's a waste, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, but you're talking on TV today because I'm sure you went to school.
Get
Apostle Ambe, how do we get this decentralization ministry fully functional and impactful for the people of Cameroon, especially those of the Northwest and Southwest regions, under the special status canopy?
That's a provocative question, because the ministry to me is not, first of all, relevant.
Okay.
Yes, it isn't relevant. Anyway, because you asked me a question, how can we be beneficial to the poor, the Northwest and the Southwest? This decentralization ministry should make sure that people who are voted into power should be given preference and respect more than those who are appointed into power.
Okay.
An appointed administrator cannot be compared to the choice of the people. The choice of the people is their priority. It's a group of people who decided to select a leader, which means they have judged from all stratas to see the competence of a leader, rather than the one that was appointed and sent to them based on family connections, ties, or probably friendship in school. We may be friends in school, you are not competent, because the eye of the people sees clearer than the eye of an individual. So if at all regional presidents were elected, I think they should be given priority to run the affairs of the region, because to a greater extent decentralization is actually giving power to some particular group of persons to exercise a degree of autonomy, at least 60% autonomy. Because if we are talking about special status, we have references of special status in countries like Canada. The French, who are the minority in Canada, living in Quebec, they have a special status, and that special status almost gave the French people a certain level of complete autonomy. The French speak in the parliament as if it's their property. You cannot even take note that they are the minority in that land. There is a certain level of influence. As a matter of fact, within that particular community where the French live in Canada, you cannot see any form of inferiority complex in terms of infrastructure, in terms of judicial and legislative right. The system have been carved out in such a way that the people do not even feel as if they are strangers or minority. But that is not the case here. And this special status, as a matter of fact, came as a result or as a solution to solve the Anglophone crisis. But the solution has not even been applied. How do we know it can as well solve the problem? Because it came as a solution to solve a problem. It was a trumpeted solution that has not been applicable as far as we are concerned. How do you tell somebody that a drug can treat you without giving the person the drug to take in? It's like we are talking about AstraZeneca vaccine.
Yeah.
To treat or to prevent COVID-19, and it has been produced and is packed in stores. That's how the special status is. It's like drug produced and packed in stores, and the patients are sitting there dying and they have not been tested or given that drug to consume. How do you explain that a special status is packaged and prepared and sent, and then it is not established in the region where it was supposed to be sent? How do you explain that? So I think the government or the decentralization ministry should go to work and make sure that even the little autonomy that were outlined in the special status should be enacted. It should be established. The individual should go to work. Let the people of those regions be the ones to start trumpeting the fact that, as it stands now, this special status you were neglecting, we have been given a level of power. But if the individuals themselves who were given the special status responsibility are the ones crying foul, that is another tension mounting, another angle. A time will come where this government of Cameroon will look like a camel, because a camel is the most shapeless animal in humanity. It has a torso of a cow, it has a leg of an elephant, it has the neck of a giraffe, it has the mouth of a hippopotamus. So you discover that it's not an animal, it's many animals in one animal. Let this government not drive this nation to a place whereby we're going to have different structures and animals produced in one system. We are begging. we are begging. That's the truth. When administration is not properly produced, you can have an octopus system of government where it has hands from all angles. You don't even know which hand to catch. Please, this special status should be given decorum, it should be given attention, and it should be treated with a lot of respect, because that seems to be one of the least and the last hope.
We will have to end at this juncture because another program is coming up live in 30 minutes. We want to say thank you to you, Andrin, for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. KUM Leonard and the great apostle and my other panelists. Thank you very much. And all the viewers of my media prime, thank you very much and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you to Innocent for passing by our studios this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. The pleasure is mine. Thank you for this great opportunity to share my thoughts with Cameroonians.
Okay, and also to you, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Cameroonians. Thank you, my media prime. It's always a privilege and a joy to be here. God bless you all.
We want to thank you too, Mr. Sama, who participated from Boya, and all of you who took time off to watch the program. Thank you to you, Desmond and Eli, who are doing just what they know how to do best. I was going to present another award that we received on Monday in Boya, but tomorrow I'm sure I'm going to present that award to you guys. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.